Hello, my name is Jenna St. Pierre, and I am a recent graduate of Columbia State Community College. And today we're here to talk to you about how alcohol can affect you. We have partnered with the Tennessee Highway Safety Office and CHASCO, which is the Coalition for Healthy and Safe Campus Communities. So first off, we're going to talk about alcohol in general and its composition, genetic makeup. Chemical makeup. The chemical molecule, of course, is ethanol, where it has 2 carbons, 5 hydrogens, and then an oxygen bonded with a hydrogen. Some fun facts about ethanol is that it is a colorless, flammable chemical compound often found in alcoholic beverages. It contains a hydroxyl group, which is this guy right here, which is that oxygen and hydrogen. And the chemical compound is C2H5OH, which just means that it has these 2 carbons, which have 5 hydrogens to it, and then just this OH group, which the H bonded to this oxygen isn't included in that CH5 group. How alcohol affects different body types. Women tend to weigh less than men, and alcohol resides mostly in body water, and it goes pound for pound. And women tend to retain less water than men. We learned this at a conference we went to back in February with CHASCO and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. We also did some more research online showing that women have a higher fat to water ratio, meaning they cannot metabolize alcohol as fast. We also learned that women have less of the liver enzyme, alcohol dehydrogenase, which aids in the breaking down of ethanol, which turns into acetaldehyde. So now we're looking at some blood alcohol content charts for men and women. So on your left, you're going to have a BAC chart for a woman, and on your right, you're going to have one for a man. As you see, they are color-coded. So red is legally intoxicated, yellow is impaired, and then green is possibly. So the possibly phase is basically your own judgment after if you're okay to drive or not. You should know your limit at that point. It's up to you on that judgment, but just take into consideration the rule of law. And it's the same on the men's side: legally intoxicated, impaired, and possibly. So we're going to go through a few examples on this page and talk about those. First off, we're going to start with the women's side. So we're going to take a 180-pound woman and start her off with 2 drinks. So she has 2 drinks and she spaces them out by an hour. So her BAC content, her BAC would be 0.05, which would be impaired. But since she spaced them out by an hour or 2, she would subtract 0.015%. So she would still be considered impaired, but she would have spaced them out enough to where she would not be as intoxicated or impaired. On the men's side, we're going to look at a 120-pound man who has had 3 drinks. So if you look at it, he has his first drink, he's at a 0.03% BAC. You go down to 2, he's at a 0.06. And then you go down to 3, he's at a 0.09. But if you spaced him out by an hour, you would subtract 0.015%. He would still be considered impaired or legally intoxicated. So alcohol affecting different body types. So I have 2 questions on this page for you to kind of figure out on yourself. We're going to go back and look at those 2 BAC charts. So how would 2 alcoholic drinks affect a woman who weighs 120 pounds? After 1 drink, she'd be at the impairment phase. After 2 drinks, she would be legally intoxicated. If we go back, we can fact check ourselves. So looking at this chart, we see that her BAC at 1 drink is 0.04. At 2 drinks, it's at 0.08. So that is the legal intoxication for a BAC in Tennessee, but it's still legally intoxicated. If she were to space them out by an hour and we were to do the math, she would still subtract 0.015%. So now for the next question is, how would 4 alcoholic drinks affect a man who weighs 180 pounds? So if we go back to the BAC chart, we can see that his first drink, he's in that possibly phase, in that possibly green section. And then if he drinks 2 more drinks, he's in that impaired phase. And then after that 4th drink, he is now legally intoxicated. So now we're going to talk about alcohol in the cerebellum. As you can see, the cerebellum is right behind the pons and right above the spinal cord. A few facts about the cerebellum. The term cerebellum comes from Latin and means little brain. Nerve cells in the cerebellum communicate with the nerve cells in the cerebrum, the brainstem, and the spinal cord. The cerebellum therefore helps control motor reflexes and coordination, blinking and eye dilation, and cognitive thought processes. Alcoholics often exhibit cognitive defects in visuospatial processing and problem solving.
I am Melissa Fabriello. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I am the mental health counselor at Columbia State. We're going to go over a few different data from a core alcohol and drug survey, and we're going to talk about some co-occurring mental health disorders aligned with substance use, and then give you some resources too. So this data, like I said, came from the 2017 core alcohol and drug survey. And the colleges that were taking part in this study, the students came from Jackson State Community College, Carson Newman University, Walter State Community College, Rhodes College, University of Memphis, and Cumberland University. So they asked them several different questions, and we pulled out some interesting results that we found. So they had asked the students to comment on the last 30 days, from the point that they were taking the survey, and they asked them how often they refused, or how many of them refused an offer of alcohol or drugs within those last 30 days, and 48% said they had refused. And then they were asked to rate different behaviors and decide what they thought was a low risk, a medium risk, a great risk of this behavior. And so the first behavior we have is to drink 1 or 2 drinks of an alcoholic beverage nearly every day. And they define alcoholic beverage as beer, wine, or liquor. And 19.1% of those students felt that was a great risky behavior. To have 4 or 5 drinks nearly every day, 59.4% also felt that was great risk for behavior. And then we have 5 or more drinks in one sitting, similar to binge drinking, and we had 54.7% of those students determined that that was a great risk in behavior. And then we had 47.7% of the students indicated that they would prefer not to have alcohol at the parties that they were attending. 84.4% of the students indicated they would prefer not to have drugs available at these parties as well. And then they were asked how their friends would feel if they took part in certain behaviors. So if they were to drink 1 or 2 drinks every day, 62.9% of those students felt that their friends would disapprove. If they were to have 4 or 5 drinks every day, 92% of the students felt that their friends would disapprove. And then if they were to have the 5 or more drinks in one sitting, 70.6% said that their friends would disapprove. And this was data combined from community colleges and 4-year universities and just across the board. We took this from the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, And this chart, if you look at it, or this picture, it shows alcohol and its correlation to academic performance. So looking at the drinks, if we were to have 3.6 drinks per week, they found that the average grade point average of those students was an A. 5.5 drinks per week went into a B, 7.6 drinks into a C, and then 10.6 drinks or more, and that was a D, or a failing grade, an F. And then they're quoted to say that students who enter recovery while attending college boast GPAs of 3.2 and higher, with an average retention rate of 90% compared to the national average of 62%. So these are some common co-occurring mental health disorders, and co-occurring means having two diagnoses that are often linked and occurring at the same time and work in tandem together. So some of the common mental health concerns related to alcohol use and misuse include depression and anxiety. There are others, but those are two big ones that we're going to touch upon. So depressive thoughts have to go on for several weeks and months in order to be termed depression. And they include loneliness, sadness, hopelessness, and suicidal ideation. Alcohol is often used in an effort to distract from these feelings, but since alcohol is a depressant, it slows down the central nervous system. So it's going to impair decision making, and it actually serves to make those depressive feelings stronger and make people feel often worse in their depression. And then we look at anxiety and alcohol. So anxiety is a broad spectrum, generalized term. There are so many different subcategories of anxiety. We could look at generalized anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder. We could look at social anxiety, phobias, and several others. But in general, anxious thoughts include excessive worrying, expecting the worst, insomnia, nausea, headaches, sweating. And people who suffer from anxiety, including social anxiety, will often turn to alcohol to distract and relax them in those situations and those settings. But in the long term, it will impair decision making, like we talked about, or Jenna talked about with the cerebellum. It's going to impair those cognitive thought processes, and that can put people in situations that they weren't choosing and didn't want, and thereby creating more anxiety in the long run. So we have some resources. Currently with the pandemic, many meetings are not happening in person. So the first two links are for virtual support rooms. And, those are ones that you can just pop in, they're free, and join a community of people to support you. And the last one there is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and that is a government website, a national website for help, with lots of different resources. And then we also wanted to put some inpatient, outpatient rehab facilities that we have in Tennessee. We have Cumberland Heights, and their number is there. We have Rolling Hills and Journey Pure. And those are just a couple. There are obviously several more, but ones that we've heard of and have seemed to have good results for those we know. So Columbia State's Counseling Center, we do not actually treat addiction. Now, while we're qualified to treat addiction, addiction is a long-term counseling treatment. So while we don't actually treat that, we are a good place to help find referrals for outside help and to talk to and see if we can't find something that would be a good match for you if needed and wanted. We are currently offering telehealth appointments via phone sessions and video chat, and we are available. Our hours are Monday through Friday from 8 until 4, and we are happy to help assist in any way we can. My number is up on the screen and my email as well. And now we're going to talk about what a standard drink size is. And I'll just read the slide really quick until we go into an actual demonstration of it. So we have a 12-ounce regular beer, so like a Budweiser, Michelob, that's about 5% alcohol, versus your 8 to 9%, that's a malt liquor, and we'll talk more about that. That's 7% alcohol. 5 ounces of wine, 12% alcohol, and then 1.5 ounces would be a shot of distilled liquor. So those are all equal in the amount of what one serving size of a drink is.
Hi, now we're going to have a former bartender teach you how to pour the proper serving sizes of alcohol. in certain glasses, okay? So here we go. Hi everybody, I'm Jo. Used to bartend many moons ago. So I am here to show you proper sizes. So what we have here, we have your standard can of beer, serving size 12 ounces. Probably drink it out of the can, pour it in a glass, however you want to do that. But that is the standard serving size of a can of beer. Anyway, also next on the list is your standard malt liquor. That is a serving size of 8 to 9 ounces. Your pour size for that is about right there. So difference between those though, this is about 5% alcohol, this one's 7% alcohol. Remember that. A little bit less of a serving size, more alcohol in that one. So then what we have next is your standard table wine, red, white, rosé. This one here is about 12% alcohol. Oops. But that right there is about 5 ounces. That is your serving size, 5 ounces, not to the top. Stop right about there. Here we have some whiskey. This is 40% alcohol, and your standard pour size is 1.5 ounces. That right there, not a lot. But out of all of this, the serving size has the most amount of alcohol. So there are your serving sizes for your standard orders of alcohol there. I'm going to let Jenna explain to you why it is important to know those serving sizes. Jenna? Hi. It really is important to know these serving sizes because you don't want to drink too much and then get intoxicated, especially when you're not pacing yourself. When we talked earlier about the spacing out between hours and how you subtract from your BAC 0.015%, that really is a good pacing. And when we talk about alcohol serving sizes and knowing that you don't need to fill a whiskey glass all the way to the top, it's hopefully it's a little bit of common sense that you know that, and that you have learned from this experience being in this class, or basically how alcohol affects you course, or whatever we're calling it. But we just want you to be safe and drink responsibly so we don't lose any of you guys, because you're important to us.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Jolena. And then thank you, students, for watching our video session. We hope that you have learned, like Jenna said, something from this. And then we will also, for the students, it was the first 70 students, I believe, who watched this, will be getting your information. You have to log in order to view. And we will be mailing you out a food voucher for $10 to a local food vendor, to be decided. And then, we're hoping to mail some blood alcohol content cards. And then we have some other information that we'll be sending too. So we appreciate you watching, and we hope you're all staying safe.